Hey guys, this is Eric with Painting Business Pro, and this month we're doing a series on Painting Business Pro all about how to make more money, how to grow your business. We're talking about business growth and all that good stuff. Now, what I'm really passionate about is the opportunity of entrepreneurship. You have an opportunity as an entrepreneur to really control your schedule, to make more and more money, and to live like a really amazing lifestyle. But I think what's critical to being able to do that is you've got to master the principles we're going to be talking about this month. And those principles are, how do you make more and more money without working more and more hours? See, what a lot of people do is they want to be more successful, so they work more. So you go from 40 hours a week to 50 to 60 to 70, and then you get there, and then you're too busy to grow your business, and you end up just kind of on this hamster wheel where you're just working your butt off to make the same amount of money. And so we're going to talk today and next week and the next week and the next week about how do you work the same hours or even less and keep making more money. And what's the process for doing that so you can follow that process again and again and again. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the underlying principle about how you can work less and make more money. The underlying principle about how to grow your business and grow your income. Next week, we're going to talk about what some of the things that you absolutely should not be doing. So if you run a painting company or are doing these things, you need to stop doing them because they're costing you your business growth and they're costing you making a lot more income almost immediately. Then the next week, in week 3, we're going to be talking about the step-by-step process for moving from 0 to 100, which that'll make more sense by the end of this video. And then the 4th week, we're going to talk about the common challenges I see people have in trying to follow this process and grow their business and grow their income. So for today, let's dive into the fundamental principle behind how are you going to make more money while working the same or working less, and how are you going to grow your business. So this is the principle we're going to talk about. So the first thing is we want to just consider the fact that we all make an hourly wage. Okay, so we work a certain amount of hours and we make a certain amount of money. Take the amount of money you make divided by how many hours you work, and that's how much you make per hour. All right, so if you make $1,000 and you work 10 hours, you're making $100 an hour. If that's what you make, $1,000 a week, and I work 10 hours a week, I'm making $100 an hour. All right, but we all have some hourly wage we're working for. Okay, so we're gonna do an example in a minute. So let's say we're worth $40 an hour. I work 40 hours a week, and I make $1,600 a week. Now so let's just start there, all right? And then we're gonna come over to these other things. So here's what we wanna look at, and here's the principle behind how we're gonna grow our income. So if you're working 40 hours a week times $40 an hour, and you're making $1,600, okay? That's where you're at. Now, what you do in a typical week, you do a lot of different things as a business owner. Sometimes you're meeting clients, doing an estimate. Sometimes you're checking on a job site. You might be making a run to the paint store. You might be doing some marketing stuff. You might be doing some bookkeeping. All right, so what we want to think about here is if you're making $40 an hour, there's some tasks you're doing that are maybe $15 an hour. There's other tasks you're doing that might be worth $60 an hour. All right, so everything you're doing in a week is not created equal. And then way out here, there's things you could be doing in your business that are worth $300 an hour. All right, so how we're going to grow our income is really simple process. Like, let's say this is 40 hours. 10 hours a week, you're doing stuff that's $15 an hour. So there's always going to be the least valuable things you do in your business. There's always the least valuable things you do, and then there's always going to be the most valuable things you do. So this is going to be our $15 an hour stuff and our $60 an hour stuff. So let's just say this is 10 hours and this is 10 hours. So what I can do is I can get rid of this, okay? So I'm no longer going to do that. So let's just say, as an example, I hire someone for $15 an hour. That's going to cost me $150 a week. And then I've got 10 hours. So what I'm going to replace that 10 hours with, because now I'm only working 30 hours a week, to get back to 40, I'm going to add 10 more $60 an hour hours. So that's going to make me an extra $600 a week minus the $150. So I'm up $450 per week. And so now I'm at $2,050 per week, and now I'm making $51 an hour, roughly. So that's what I do. So here would be an example of that. All right, so early on, and we'll talk about this more in the next videos, but early on, you might be making 2 trips to the paint store every day. Well, you could pay one of your employees a little bit of a raise to go to the paint store for you, and that might save you 2 hours a day. 5 days a week, that's 10 hours. And you might pay that employee an extra $100-$150 a week for that time. That costs you $100 to $150, but you get 10 hours, and you can put that into finding more customers. So this is the fundamental process we're going to follow. Now, there are low-end tasks that are down here at 15 per hour. That's going to the paint store, checking in on your job site constantly. If you're actually doing the painting, all right, we'll talk a little bit in another video about how do you identify what my lowest valuable tasks are. All right, but there's other tasks that are more valuable, like doing estimates. All right, this is what's really making you a lot of money, doing marketing and sales and finding new customers. Or maybe really high-level customer service to generate referrals. Or maybe it's going to network events and generating referrals and bringing in more business. But then beyond that, at some point, you're going to be doing this 40-hour stuff, where it's all, you're averaging 60 an hour, but there's some stuff that's worth 40 and some stuff that's worth 80. So then we're going to get rid of the 40, we're going to expand the 80, and we're going to kind of keep going like this forever. So at some point, you're doing all the most valuable stuff in your business. Well, maybe at some point, it's time to start building a team. All right, so that's how you constantly can transition, is we always want to identify what's the least valuable stuff I do with my time, what's the most valuable stuff I do with my time, and how do I replace the least valuable with the most valuable. Now, you can imagine when you're just starting out, you might be talking to some friends and family and doing some of the painting yourself. So maybe in a 40-hour week, you're painting for 30 hours. And if you're painting, you're making what you could pay someone else to do it. So maybe that's 15 an hour or 20 an hour. So that's kind of this low end of the spectrum. We're going to call that 0. All right, so that's just starting the business. And then down here, there's 100. All right, so from 0 to 100, this is maybe where you have a whole franchise, or maybe you have multiple locations, where you're not talking to customers, you're not talking to painters, maybe you're not even talking to salespeople, you're just talking to business owners. You can't go from 0 to 100. So how do we get from 0 to 100? We do it by inching our way there. So we're here, and then we knock this off, and we add this. Then we knock this off, and we add this. Then we knock this off, and we add this. We knock this off, and we add this. And we just keep doing that process again and again and again, and this is how we're able to make more and more money in the same amount of time. So we got to bridge the gap one step at a time. So here's the first thing you can do right now, is just take out a pen and paper or take out your schedule and simply write down a list of everything you do in a typical week. And then what you want to do is you want to group it into your most valuable, medium valuable, least valuable tasks. And you're going to identify whatever these least valuable tasks are. Now there's 3 ways that you can get rid of those. We can eliminate, we can automate, or we can delegate. So one thing we can do, for example, is if you're just dropping by the job site, multiple times a day, you could just stop going multiple times a day and just check in once a day instead of twice a day. That would be an example of eliminating something. If you want to automate something, that could maybe be, having the paint store deliver your paint for you so you don't even have to do that task. Or maybe it's hiring a payroll company to do your payroll so that you just send numbers and then it's all automated. Or maybe it's some system you put in place with your employees and your painters to update a system. Maybe you use a CRM. Maybe you're using estimating tools to automatically send your estimates out. So this is kind of like using tools or technology to save you time. All right, so I'm looking at my schedule. I'm like, wow, I spend a lot of time writing up estimates. I wonder if there's something that automatically makes estimates for me. Something like that. And then the last one is delegate. So asking someone else to take it on. And if you have painters, you could start to give your foreman a little more responsibility to manage the job site for you. You could have him start to go to the job site visits. You could have him update you morning and evening about how the job's going. You could hire an accountant and somebody else to do your bookkeeping so you can focus on the more valuable stuff. And so these are ultimately the 3 things we can do to get things off of our plate. And this is all I've been doing for years, and it's still what I'm doing. There's always going to be the least valuable stuff you do, and the most valuable stuff you do. And if your schedule is just full of the most valuable stuff, then it's time for you to start building a team, because that's even more valuable as you start to build a team to take over all of those things. And so that's going to be the fundamental process. So in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the things that you definitely should not be doing if you're running a painting company, because they're the easiest things to eliminate so you can do more of what matters. And then in the third video, we're going to walk through what are the fundamental steps for growing this business from 0 to $1 million and beyond. And in the last video, we're going to talk about the challenges you're going to face. What you should do right now is make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell icon to get notified when we release other videos, because we're doing these monthly themes all year long. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've got a question, drop it in the comments. And take out a pen and paper and write down what do you do all week, and write it all out until everything you do in a week is written on that page. And try to find 5 to 10 hours of stuff you do in a typical week that you could eliminate from your schedule so you can do more valuable things in your business, and that's how you make more money as a business owner. So I hope you liked the video, and we'll see you guys next week.